I'm a class of 2024 grad. My name is Cole Gaddis. I'm a Colorado School of Mines commit, playing linebacker from Longmont High School, and you're listening to Playmakers Corner.
Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to the Playmakers Corner podcast. I'm your host for today, Gideon Egner, and we have a very special guest hailing from Longmont, Colorado, our second top 5 player from Longmont here for the second year in a row. Would you mind introducing yourself?
Hey, I'm Cole Gaddis. I'm from Longmont, Colorado. I played football at Longmont High School for the last 4 years, primarily as a linebacker and running back.
Very nice. And, goodness, Longmont has been one of my favorite teams to watch for these past couple of years. I felt really bad when I got there last year and I realized we left Noah Atherton off of our watch list, and I was like, oh, crap, this guy's good too. And but after that feeling of being caught off guard, I was just hooked the second I watched that Mohai game. And that does make me wonder, what's your favorite sport viewing experience? Like, what's your favorite experience as a fan?
Oh man, I love college football. Going to college football games, no matter where it is probably my favorite atmosphere to be around. I definitely enjoy almost equally as much going to other teams' high school games, because when you have like relationships with guys in the games, it makes it that much more fun to watch, you know?
Yeah.
So one of those two, probably.
Heck yeah. I get that. Who were you rooting for the Rocky Mountain Showdown?
Oh man. I'm kind of impartial to college football teams right now, but I mean, definitely CU. Both my parents are CU grads. I have a bunch of family that went to CU. I've been going to those games since I was really little, so undoubtedly CU. But
Cole, don't take this the wrong way, but boo. Nah, I'm just kidding.
What?
I'm a student at CSU, man.
I thought you went to UNC.
No, that's Simon and Cody. They went to UNC.
Oh my goodness.
Nah, it that's completely fair. I personally, I don't mind being the little brother. Whatever gets us the exposure to get better commits,
Oh
I
my
am
gosh.
down for.
I'll tell you what, that game was too close this year. It should not have been like that.
Oh no, and we should have been up more. Like, they made so many dumb mistakes in the first half, where I was just like, we should have been up 17-0 at one
Yeah.
point. But of course, it ended up going the way that it did. I saw a thing where it was like, of the games that CU won, of the 4 games that CU won, 3 of those teams were 1 win away from a bowl game.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, really? CU may not have had the best season, but they played pretty good spoilers.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was definitely like exciting because I mean, especially after having seen what they did the year before, I think it just got people kind of fired up for like this year and the next.
Yeah. Yeah. I do wish they recruited more in-state guys, but
Yeah.
it does technically make the state look better. Goodness. And okay, so you brought up watching games with other guys that you've played with and against.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that you've had a pretty close relationship with Cole Rogers from Silver Creek, and that obviously he is one of the better running backs in the state.
Yeah.
And he's had his own recruiting journey, but who's been someone that you've been playing against where you're just like, that guy is underrated as all hell. He deserves more shine. He deserves more of a spotlight.
Um, Someone that I'm not particularly like someone that I'm kind of been buddies with, or just someone that I played against over the years.
How about both?
Okay, let me think. Um, I think as far as like someone that I've kind of known for a while is another Silver Creek kid. You remember Luke Reeders?
Yeah, yeah.
I played against Luke, or have been around Luke for years and years. We actually played soccer together in middle school.
Oh,
Neither of us were really football guys back then, but he was one of the more versatile guys I feel like I've ever played against. Kind of played anything except for D line on defense. It felt like he was like a primary receiver for them, kicked and punted. So he's a guy that I thought was really underrated and that stats weren't necessarily representative of. And then, other guys that I've played against, I think of like Owen at Monarch, Owen Mellish. He missed out on a lot of this year, but I feel like he, um, because of missing out on some of this year, didn't really get to showcase what like everyone knows he's about as much as he would have liked to. But he is so good. Like I don't think people realize how fast that dude is.
oh no, no. Like he's different on film than in person. It feels like.
Yeah, I mean he's got track speed. Like I've run track the last couple of years, and I genuinely didn't realize how fast he was. And he's not a small dude either. So it's like,
Yeah, when I interviewed him after the game against you guys this year, and he walked up right next to their quarterback Montemayor, I was just like, holy crap! It's the same reaction I had when I interviewed Green Mountain, where I was like, not one of you is under 6'3", are you?
yeah, no, they've got some big dudes. I have one other guy that comes to mind. I can't remember what the running back list you guys made looked like, but our Northeast kid, Russell Patton,
Oh yeah.
he actually went down like right at the end of the second quarter of our game against them, I think. And he's by far the toughest dude that I'm sure anyone on our defense would have told you he's the toughest dude that they've ever had to bring down. Like he's enormous and he's fast too. And he's way more elusive than you'd expect a guy that big to be.
Yeah. When I think we ended up having him third on our top 5 running backs list.
Okay.
And he,
Gotcha.
I mean, you're gonna still be playing against him because
CSC Pueblo, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, is that a matchup that you're? I mean, obviously, it does sound like you're looking forward to still be playing against him, but is that a matchup that you're going to be having circled on the calendar every year?
I mean, I'm sure just because that program is pretty historic. I mean, they've been really good in the past, and they've been pretty solid recently. And so, I don't know, as far as RMAC matchups goes, that's definitely a big one to watch.
Oh yeah, yeah, that'll be it. Here in 2 or 3 years, it's going to be
It's gonna be
insane.
fun.
Yeah, and I mean, so you brought it up there for a minute when you were talking about like you weren't really a football guy in middle school. You were playing soccer. Uh, when you started your career, you were primarily a kicker, like Ty, right?
Yeah, so I played football in 8th grade because a couple buddies who are actually a couple of my best friends now, Isaiah Prospero and Kobe Dirksen, kind of pushed me into it, and then we all kind of stuck with each other through high school, which is cool. But as a freshman, I started as a defensive end, which was
Oh,
a pretty interesting experience. I know it was weird. It was the COVID year. My older brother was the the defensive end opposite to me. And then the year after, I started doing the kicking and did kicking for the majority of that year and was also playing linebacker. But the soccer definitely helps with the kicking. So that's probably where that came from.
Yeah. So how did you, I mean, how did you make the decision to not really be kicking anymore? Because, oh, yeah, you go.
Yeah, so I actually had when I was kicking my sophomore year, I started dealing with some quad injuries because of it, which was like the most unfortunate thing because it's like kicking for me was such a like secondary aspect of like what I was doing that it really frustrated me. And I was like, I can't be missing any more games in my high school career because of kicking. So I don't know. That's ultimately what led me to stop doing it. And then when like Bryson stepped in my junior year, and that was a huge help. And then this year Ty did it, so it wasn't really an area of concern for us at that point, which was nice.
That's good. That's very good. A friend of mine from high school, his older brother actually kicked at Loras College. I think it's D2.
Okay.
And like he stopped after a year because he really messed up like his hip flexors.
Yeah.
And he was just like, if I keep doing this, I'm not going to be able to walk in 10 years.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was before that, I didn't realize how much harm kicking can do to your body.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. I mean, I feel like as much as you can prepare your body for it, like making sure that you like like have really good flexibility and all those things. Sometimes I feel like it just doesn't matter as much as you would hope it does, you know.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? Yeah. Let me tell you, no matter how I warmed up before any type of game in my admittedly brief high school baseball career, I no matter what I did, I could not get my right hip flexor to calm the hell down.
Yeah,
It was no matter
I
what,
got you.
it was always bugging me. I don't even know what I did to it. But what what's your pregame ritual? Like your meal, like favorite stretch, that type of thing.
Dude, I hit like a good 30, 45-minute stretch before I leave for the school for pregame because we have a pretty elongated like team pregame. We usually report by like oh God, by like 4:30. And then we start with our actual pregame stuff at around 5. But I
Damn.
mean, as far as like a meal goes, I've been um, really this whole year from between football and basketball, I've been big on like introduced protein smoothies. Uh, Sometimes I'd go and get actually a staple for like pregame food for me was always like the grilled nuggets from Chick-fil-A.
Ooh.
Just there's a couple things that I'd make sure I had some favorites for sure, but there wasn't like one thing I'd always get beforehand. It's tough
Hey.
too though when like you start pregame at 5 and you don't play till 7 because you want to make sure that you're filled up for the 7 o'clock game. So I'd be like snacking in the locker room on peanuts and stuff before the game too and whatnot. But little things, you know.
Yeah, gotta stay fueled. I, so could you? Yeah, like 5 o'clock for 7 o'clock. I don't think I've heard of many teams getting there quite that early. Like 5:30
Yeah,
you hear
usually
about.
teams pull up at like 6 and we're halfway through our warm up. It feels like so.
Yeah. What does coach talk about when it comes to like I guess that extra step of preparation?
Um, I mean, most of it is just making sure our bodies are right. We start off with a few periods of like non-contact, no pads, Then we go and throw on lower half of pads, but like keep helmets and shoulder pads off. And then the next kind of like last couple segments, we go live and start hitting a little bit and running through plays at full speed. And so I think it's just about like progressions for him. And then we also spend a little bit of time like reviewing our scout from the week, and then kind of throwing those things in during warm up to make sure that everyone's locked in mentally and physically. But yeah, that's kind of always been how he's done it. And then since I've been in high school, we've been doing it that way. So I've gotten used to it at this point, at least.
I mean, that's fair. And if it works, it works.
Yeah.
And that does kind of make me wonder, has it ever happened where you guys pull up to a stadium and it's just not open yet, and you're just kind of waiting out there for them, like, we're ready?
Not that I can really recall, but very rarely is anyone ever there. Like, there's someone to let us in, and then it's just us there for like 30 or 45 minutes.
Okay, that'll do it. Because you can imagine a world where you get there and like your AD forgot to include that part of the email, and all of a sudden you're just kind of waiting for 20 minutes. Like,
oh yeah, that's a good point.
oh goodness. But back to your game a little bit. So obviously playing both ways, you've got a lot of stuff to focus on, a lot of different aspects that you have to remember when you're looking at the scouting report.
Mm-hmm.
Who is somebody that you model your game after, that you want to emulate on both sides of the ball?
Oh gosh, that's tough. I wouldn't say there's any one particular player on either side of the ball that I try and model my game after offensively. I don't know, I rely a lot on physicality offensively. I've never been one since I started running the ball last year to really be looking to make like explosive cuts and stuff. I've always been a guy that's like, we pick up 4 or 5 yards every play, then we're bound to score, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know, I feel like in the NFL now, the guy that runs the most like that is probably like Derrick Henry. Not necessarily that I model my game after him, but just because I feel like that's kind of been a staple of his game the last few years, you know?
Right.
And then defensively, like I really kind of take pride in like being a versatile linebacker. Like, I for most of my career I've been an inside guy, and then last year I found myself in a few situations where I was playing more as like a strong safety in our games like Denver South, that sort of a thing, and again this year in games like Far Northeast. And so I don't know, trying to think of guys that kind of move all over the place. I've come off the edge a little bit too. Um, like who's someone that's done that defensively? I feel like Jamal Adams is a guy that's kind of moved up and down. You know, he's played like sometimes you find him on the line of scrimmage, and other times he's 15 yards deep.
Yeah.
Guys like that, I'd say.
Very nice. Yeah, it's that you mentioned the whole like it sounds like you know your limitations, because one of the things that Simon and Cody brought up when they were doing the evaluation is really strong, able to stay balanced in basically any situation. Quote, struggles cutting back and being shifty, but again, still makes up
it's
for
just
it
never
with
really
balance.
been. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it's actually I actually take a lot of pride in like my ability to cut back and stuff, as far as like others, especially in like other sports. Like I feel like it's more evident like when I'm playing basketball and stuff, like kind of like shift like elusiveness and that sort of a thing.
Yeah.
But it's just never been something that I've really, I don't know, just it was never really something I worked on as far as being a running back. But I don't know.
I mean, it ended up working for you. So So I can see, if that's not something that you need to add to your game, it's not something you need to add. And
Yeah.
Something kind of funny. That this is the first year that 4 of the top 5 running backs that Simon Cody assessed were power backs.
Really?
Yeah, so it was you, Russell Patton, Jake Stonebreaker from Douglas County, and he's 6'1", 215, and Matthias
Yeah.
Price from Fountain Fort Carson.
He's a UNC guy now, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And then you'll be playing against Xavier Ramirez, who was the only
Roosevelt.
Yeah, he was the only halfback that was selected.
That's interesting, though.
Yeah, it was a really good year for power backs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I guess that brings us to and I'll give you a refresher if you want. But
Okay.
what was your reaction to PMC's evaluation of your game?
Would you mind giving me a quick reminder of the ratings? I remember thinking, like, sitting there listening to it, thinking that it's pretty accurate.
I'll give you excuse me. I'll give you a quick refresher. So Simon said, and so like the best of the best national talent is like 10 out of 10.
Okay.
And where's the? Okay, I can't find the thing but like basically a 5 or 6 is average.
Mm-hmm.
Anything above that is above average. So
Okay.
Vision was an 8.4. Footwork is an 8. Receiving was a 7. Power explosiveness 8.3. Agility, change of direction 7.6. Speed 8.4. Balance and body control 8.8. Frame and strength 8.8. Tackle breaking 8.6. Acceleration 8.3. That's from Simon. Basically the same from Cody. He actually had one of the better receiving grades.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, you know how it is with throwing the ball to running backs in the state, so.
Yeah. It's not a very frequent occurrence.
No. But that's kind of the long and short of it.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty fair evaluation. As far as, like, I don't know, just kind of what I was saying earlier, I take most pride in, like, my ability to break tackles and break things open by my tackle breaking ability, and so I think that was highlighted well with the report. There's not really anything there's really nothing on that I disagree with. I think I maybe didn't play a style of football as a running back that showcased my footwork, but I think maybe that could be a little bit higher. Again, I didn't really play a way that showcased that, so that's not really something that I can complain about per se. But no, I actually think that's a really good evaluation.
Hey, fair enough. That makes complete sense to me. And the footwork stuff makes sense. I haven't seen you play basketball yet. I'm gonna see if I can make it down for if you have another playoff game against Windsor or Meade. I'll try to make my way down.
Hey, okay.
But I have a feeling if you're the type of guy that's running track and going out there and doing that type of thing, you're probably pretty shifty based off of my experience.
Mm-hmm.
The best guard that I ever knew, Lairden Raggi, he's playing, well, not playing, but he's a runner for Butler University now.
Okay.
And
that's pretty sick.
He averaged like 25 points per game his senior year.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. and like 7 rebounds as a 5'10" point guard.
Gosh,
Yeah, he was insane.
no, that's impressive.
Yeah, and I guess we went over it a little bit there, where you talked a little bit about like what you think some of your best qualities are. But what do you think are some abilities that differentiate you from other running backs and linebackers in Colorado and across the country?
Um, as far as running backs go, kind of the same thing I was just mentioning. I mean, as far as like in high school, I definitely feel like I'm a bigger back, but relative to like a couple of the other guys on your guys' list, maybe not that big, you know. But I mean, I think I'm as hard as it comes to bring down in Colorado high school football as it goes. Uh, Very rarely do I feel like I'm tackled by less than 2 or 3 guys, and so that was something I definitely um, felt like was worthy of highlighting. Um, this year I worked a lot. I mean, in track last year and in the off season with a couple of different trainers that I've been working with for years and years. I worked on like building up that top end speed because I wasn't happy with the way I was getting caught last year. And that was definitely not necessarily not that that's necessarily one of the best components of my game offensively, but I felt like that was something that I really improved that elevated it this last year.
Right.
Um, I think I had more like 40 plus yard runs in the first 3 games than I had in all of last season.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, it was something like that. And then defensively, I don't know. I feel like um, I didn't get to come off the edge a whole lot this year, but I feel like when I did, I really put like my speed on display, and meeting guys at like the point of contact. I don't know. I also track really well. I feel like as a defense or as a in coverage. I feel like there were a few games this year where I actually got to kind of showcase that, specifically against Denver South again. I was kind of thrown out into man-to-man situations more often, and I think that that's something that I really thrived in.
Hey, that makes sense. I still feel bad about that Denver South game.
Oh my goodness.
I because I was on my way. Like I had picked
I
up
remember this. I remember this.
I picked up dinner from Qdoba. I get in my car and the battery had died.
Oh
And
my
I was just like, God damn.
gosh.
Because like I I was really looking forward to like you versus Chevelle early, Elijah Landrum Hamilton. How's he gonna compare to Joey Foot? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, damn it. And then it ends up being one of the games of the year across the state where
I know we almost came back. It felt like it really came down to like one defensive stop that we didn't get there at the end.
but I mean still coming back from being down what was it? Like
Oh gosh.
39 to 8
Yeah, something like that.
and only allowing one more score in basically the second half like that.
Mm-hmm.
I I hate that I missed that.
It was a good one for sure.
Oh goodness. And I mean, you talked about it there for a moment where you were like, yeah, I pride myself in being hard to take down. And for some reason, all I thought about was in the Super Bowl when that Chiefs guy got absolutely clotheslined on special teams.
Oh gosh.
What did you think of the Super Bowl this year?
I mean, I'm a Broncos guy, so I didn't really care who won it this year, but I didn't want it to be the Chiefs. So obviously that didn't go my way. I don't know. It was unfortunate that they had that fumble on that opening possession. I think
Yeah.
had that not happened, they definitely score there. I mean, like
Oh yeah.
they had to have been averaging 7-8 yards a play on that possession, and
Yeah.
then I mean that kind of put them back. But I don't know. It was a really good game. The first half was pretty boring. I felt like.
Oh
But
yeah.
that fourth quarter was like, it was reminiscent of every Chiefs Super Bowl ever, where you get to the fourth quarter and you're just like, yep, they're gonna somehow win this game. And we had a bunch of people over, and we're all just like, yep, Chiefs are gonna win. And surely enough, but I don't know. As much as I wish they wouldn't have won, and I don't know, I'm pretty impartial on Patrick Mahomes, but that dude is so good. Like,
Yeah.
I don't, the fact that, like, that, I mean, what is that, Super Bowl number 3?
Yes.
The fact that he's 28 years old or something, and I don't know, he has like one of the greatest resumes ever already, and he's like less than halfway through his career probably.
It, yeah. I saw a thing the other day where it was like how many guys in sports are first ballot Hall of Fame by age 28,
Oh my gosh, like,
and
no.
it was really Mahomes, Giannis, Jokic, and depending on who you talk to, Otani.
Yeah,
And that's
gotcha.
really depending on who you talk to, because we both know the Baseball Hall of Fame is,
Kind of screwed up right now.
yeah, that there's going to be somebody that tries to say that Ichiro shouldn't be first ballot, and whoever they are, they're wrong. But what what's your favorite playing memory? Like, yeah, like what's your favorite, like, basketball, track, football, even soccer? You brought that up. Like, what's your favorite playing memory?
Hmm. Um, I think I got two for you. One is more general. It's like one of the greatest blessings to be able to play with one of your siblings, and the fact that I've gotten to play with two throughout my high school career has been like something I didn't even really think was going to be possible, and that's been by far like my greatest memory probably ever. Um, and then as far as like an individual sports memory, um, the rivalry games. I mean, Creek and Silver Creek and Skyline games have been like games that you circle on your calendar since I was playing against their feeder teams in 8th grade. You know, so any chance that we get to play against those teams is like so much fun. But I don't know. We had our senior night against Silver Creek this year, and being able to celebrate our seniors and win in a big rivalry game like that was probably um, one of at least my favorite high school football memories.
Heck yeah, that. Heck yeah, one of my best memories was also senior night. My senior year, we were playing a team that was talking all types of shit, and we came out and they were like, "Oh, you guys are no," like the year before we made a Final Four run, but we were like a 20 seed
Mm-hmm.
this year, and they were like, "Oh, you guys aren't crap. We're gonna come out. We're gonna beat you." And then we beat them by 30. Like, as a manager, I talked to Beck, and he was like, "If it gets to 40, I'll put you in." And
Oh my gosh, seriously?
yeah, but it
That's hilarious.
didn't end up happening. But then the next week we play them in the first round of the district tournament because we were 3A, and we beat them
Mhm.
by 40.
Oh, actually. Oh my
Yeah, yeah.
goodness.
We 2 weeks in a row at home, and I still feel kind of bad because they had one guy who I find Chasa's rule on if you start high school at 15 and end at 19, you can't play.
Mm, yeah.
Because they had this one dude, Sonny Cicerelli, who he was adopted from Japan, and so yeah, of course he was a little bit older. It's
Hmm.
not trying to skirt the system or anything, but they were just like, yeah, no, you can't play your senior year. So
What?
yeah, so we ended his career that at
Oh.
which I felt bad, but also it's Woodland Park, so you can't feel too bad.
Yeah, that's true.
But back to you. What's been your favorite? So we talked about somebody underrated that you've gone against. What's been your favorite matchup as an individual? Like, who's been your favorite guy to go against, and what's been your favorite matchup as a team?
Okay. I'm pulling up max preps for this.
Hey, that is completely fair. You played against a lot of people.
So I'd say, actually, individual matchup is tough.
Yeah, because you've gone against Cole LaCrew, Blake Barnett, everyone that goes along with Erie, Mikey Munn, Chevelle Early, Russell Patton, David Lopez.
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I think probably I have a few Erie guys. Probably Blake or the Cowgill twins. I played against them again since middle school. We played them like it was a small league. I think we played them 3 times in 8th grade or something.
Oh my
And
God.
I'm like 0-7 against them all time. But that's been a matchup that I've always looked forward to. One, because you know that when you play Erie, you're playing against the best competition in the state of Colorado. And two, because over the years I've kind of been able to build relationships with the Cowgill brothers in particular. So that definitely makes it a little bit more competitive, more exciting, more fun, honestly. Just because like there's a mutual understanding that's like you guys are boys, but you guys are just gonna take it to each other. And so that's been like an individual matchup I've always looked forward to, and to be able to do it for 5 years is pretty fun.
Oh yeah.
And then a team that we play, I always look forward to. I mean, probably Windsor. Actually, Windsor. I'd definitely say Windsor. I don't remember the game against them my freshman year a whole lot. I don't know if we played them my freshman year in the COVID season, but I mean, my sophomore year, we played a really tight game there, and I mean, I remember the weather being kind of crappy for that one, and I just love playing at Windsor. I don't know what it is about their stadium or what, but that's just always been a place I've really liked playing at. And then last year we had a really interesting game against Windsor. It was actually kind of crazy. We got put on lightning delay like a few minutes into the first quarter.
Oh, it was that week.
Yeah, and we didn't resume gameplay until like 9 o'clock or 9:30.
God,
And so
yeah.
the game ended like usually I feel like we're leaving the stadium and like getting out by like 10:15, 10:30, but the game ended at like 11:30 or like 11. It was insane. And then and then this year we kind of blew it against them. We went into half up 16-0, and then I mean, then they just kind of we came out slow in the second half and we lost by 1, but that was one of the most fun games I've ever gotten to play in high school.
I was at okay, so last year for Windsor, I was at the Pewter Castleview game, and that was the first game I ever covered. So
okay.
I was pretty thrown off by the 2-hour lightning delay.
Yeah. No, the other crazy thing about that is that's when Jack Mall, his family, our families are really close, and USD, University of San Diego, had a game the next day, and we'd planned this trip to go visit him weeks prior, and
No.
We had to leave the house at like 4:30 in the morning the next day.
No.
And so yeah, so I remember Griffin. You remember Griffin Taylor?
Yeah.
His family was going with too. And I remember we're getting into our cars after the game, after getting all the gear off, whatever, talking to coaches, and it's like midnight, and we're like, did we just not go to sleep and just wait until? But so that was definitely an eventful night.
Oh,
Those Windsor games are always exciting because I don't know, in all sports against Windsor, I feel like you just know that the Windsor Longmont matchups are going to be big time.
yeah. Would you say they're like your secondary rival?
I'd say probably outside of, I mean, it really varies from sport to sport, but I'd say outside of like the Silver Creek Skyline stuff, it's probably Windsor Mead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Meade is pretty. I mean, basketball wise, I know you didn't play them in football this year, but basketball wise, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
And God, I was at the Skyline versus Stansley Lake game during that Longmont Windsor matchup this year, and I just somebody's watching your game on their phone like during a timeout, and they're sitting right in front of me, and I'm like, excuse me, is that the Longmont game? She's like, yeah, they're up 16-0. I forget whose mom it was, but she was like, my son plays for that team as well. And like she was there to watch her nephew for some reason.
Gotcha.
Or the other way around, I forget. But then I asked her at like in the fourth quarter, and she's like, it's not looking good. And I was like, oh crap. But
Yeah.
I mean, of all the teams that you lost to this year, you can't exactly be disappointed about very many of them, considering that all of those were second or third round teams, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And is there anyone that you wish that you had been able to play against that you never had the opportunity to?
Any team?
Any team or any individual player where you were like, dang, I wish that I'd been able to play against Palmer Ridge or Vista Ridge, or I don't know why, but like somebody from Grand Junction, something like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'd say just because we were just talking about it, I'd say probably Meade because I remember being little and that being a matchup that we always looked forward to going. Like my family always looked forward to going and watching. When I was in probably, I don't know, sixth grade, we played them at Meade in a really big playoff game, and I just remember that environment like absolutely insane. And I'm kind of upset I never got to experience that, but that's probably the one I'd like to get. And I have so many buddies over there that like I grew up playing with and against that I feel like kind of going back to what I was saying with the Cowgill brothers, when you have relationships with the guys you're playing against, it just makes it that much more competitive and kind of fiery. That would have been such a fun game.
Oh yeah, yeah, like especially that year that they were coming off the championship.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that would have been a fun one.
That would have been really fun.
Oh goodness. Yeah, and I mean, as you've mentioned, you've had a lot of guys that have been influential in your development as a player. Who are some guys that you've worked with in the off seasons over the years that you'd like to give a shout out to and that have made an impact on your game, and what has that impact been?
So I'd say as far as like trainers I've worked with, are you asking like players and trainers or what?
Let's go with both.
Okay, so as far as trainers I've worked with, I've spent the last maybe since I was in seventh grade, like the last 5-6 years, working with Aaron Vogel at Train in the Core Sports Performance here in Longmont, and I've also spent a lot of time working with Johnny Baisley at NoCo Performance here in Longmont, and even more so than like actual ability, like physical capabilities, I feel like one of the things I've gotten from them the most is sort of character development. They're two of the, I mean, both those guys push you really, really hard athletically. And I mean, like their workouts are not easy, but they've become something I've looked forward to over the years because I know that what I put in is what I'm going to get out. And I don't know, they're both just really, really good guys. And yeah, so between the two of those guys, I feel like I've become a much better athlete and better person. And I work with them year round. And then, I don't know, in the off season, I spend most of the off seasons just working with the guys on the team. And so, I don't know, the guy that you always know is going to show up is Colby. So that's always been like, I mean, Colby's the guy that texts you over the summer. It feels like every day, and he's like, "We throwing today?" And so, no, I mean that's so cool. Like when you have a quarterback that wants to get better like that. That's
Hell
like
yeah.
huge. And then there's a group of guys that is always down for those throwing workouts. Let me think. Like Joey's always there. Davis Pellet, Chris Pellet, Logan Johnson, Parker Mills. Those are a couple of the older guys that would always show up for those. Defensively, sometimes the D-line would get together and work over the summer. D-line, O-line stuff. Sometimes the linebackers would go. So like Ethan, Isaiah Prospero, Grant Cummins, Hunter Knight, those guys. But yeah, those are people that I definitely want to be noted.
Hell yeah. But I mean, those are all names that I've been hearing and saying for a couple years now, and I mean, from the ones that I met, those are all good guys as well.
Mm-hmm. Really good guys.
And I mean, it's weird because Longmont has been producing some of the top talent in the state for a few years, and you guys are going to nationally recognized programs. Like you're going to the 2-year runner-up in the D2
Mm-hmm.
championship. Noah is at the 2-time national champion in FCS.
Yeah.
And I mean, that makes me wonder, based on what you've seen, is Colorado talent overlooked compared to
I think,
other guys?
100%. Like, I think Colorado football is like greatly underappreciated by national organizations, by like people, I don't know, which I also kind of get because everyone wants to focus on the Texases and Californias as they should because those are huge states producing like really, really like incredible talent. I do feel like though this year has been a big turning point for Colorado football. I feel like I've seen more guys in Colorado posting about Power 5 offers in the last 2 months than I did the previous 3.5 years.
Oh yeah.
And so I think that's really cool to see. And it's not just like the 5A like state champions. It's not just like guys like that. Like again, thinking of Windsor, we play basketball against Windsor at least twice a year. We had them 3 times last year. And Deacon Schmidt there.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was like when we played them at Windsor, he just picked up his Wyoming offer, and he'd already had the CU one. And I see him 2.5 weeks later, and I'm congratulating him on an offer to Washington State. So it's like that's really cool to see. Is that especially the younger talent in Colorado is now starting to get recognized. So hopefully this is like a turning point for recognition of football talent in the state, and I think it is.
Yeah, I really hope so as well. Like that. I saw this sophomore from Fort Collins High School, Mason Bandhauer.
He's real in a bunch.
Yeah, and I was like, holy crap! What in the hell did I get transported to Georgia? What? And yeah, my spirits have been really high with that exact same thing. So I'm hoping this trend continues.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they move down south because I'm from the Springs and I know there's a bunch of talent down there that just is not looked at.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Or like okay, kind of a sidebar. There's this guy down at Salida, Kason Pridemore, who's a linebacker. as a freshman, he's already like 6'2", 225.
That's crazy.
And like he does rodeo in his free time. And he had 130 tackles this year without playoffs.
Oh my goodness. And he's a freshman this year?
And he's a freshman. And I was like, what the hell? What kind of wizardry is this? What are they feeding these kids?
I do think it's cool seeing some of the smaller school guys get recognized. Oh gosh, I saw a Glenwood Springs guy, I think, is committed to Wyoming.
Yeah, Joaquin Sandoval.
Yeah, and I mean that's just like I feel like especially for small schools in Colorado, that's kind of unheard of. And so that's like really, really cool to see is that like it's not just um the Eries and Palmer Ridges, like the teams that are going all the way that are being recognized. It's Glenwood Springs as a guy going to a really, really good program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and then like Gavin Helm from Windsor, he's going to Wyoming as well.
I didn't even know that was like something in the cards. Like I just randomly saw him like post that commitment. That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping to see him. And then also like Jackson Stewart and I think it's Chris Jones from Lions. And then Jackson Stewart from Dayspring Christian. They're going. You're going to be playing against them because I think Western, they're going to Western.
Yeah. Saw that.
Oh goodness! Like I think I saw that it was Mesa has picked up 30 in-state guys.
Yeah, and I feel like it started last year. I'm really another guy I played soccer with. You'll be really surprised by it. Do you know Zach DeBella? He was an offensive, I think primarily an offensive tackle for Meade.
Yeah.
He's a 2-time All-State guy, I think. He was a soccer player.
I can see it. I have known. I know a D1 basketball guy who's a 6'10" forward for Boston U that he played soccer too.
Oh, seriously, it's good background.
Yeah.
But like I remember when Zach committed to Mason, I was like, man, like they must really like I don't know, like have a way with recruits because he's a good really freaking good football player.
Yeah.
But no, so I think it's really cool. I'm really excited that a bunch of the guys that I've spent years and years playing against are staying in the RMAC because it'll be a bunch of relived rivalries. It feels like.
Hell yeah, and I mean it. I may be projecting a little bit here, but if you make it to the league, you might be able to pick up a couple of wins against Blake and the Cogill brothers.
Oh gosh.
Oh my. Yeah, and then South Dakota, they're picking up a bunch of guys as well.
Yeah, but Mason, Mikey, I think there's a couple others too.
Brendan Crisp as well.
Yeah, Brendan. Arapahoe?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, okay.
Oh my. Taking it back to recentering this conversation a little bit. Well, actually, okay, unrecentering it. To talk a little bit more about Mesa. I had a friend that I was helping with my recruiting for a little bit, or not with mine, with his, and he ended up deciding not to play in college because he was like, I've been playing since I was like 5 years old. I'm beat up. I've had like 5 concussions. I've needed like 30, 40 stitches. My body is done. But he was like a 6'4", 215 D end. So pretty about the perfect size for a D end. And but he's from a 2-way school. And I talked with his coach, and the coach was like, yeah, before he decided he didn't want to play in college, Mesa was calling me every week about him.
Really?
Yeah. And I was just like, dang, Mesa's really getting on it this year. And that was before really I saw how many guys that they ended up offering and taking on. But yeah, they're doing a really good job. Not that Mines isn't. Mines picked up some really good talent this year.
Yeah.
How do you feel about like how familiar are you with the other guys that mine's picked up. Like, I mean, obviously Owen, but like those Columbine RBs, the Creek guys,
Yes.
Auerbach.
So, I mean, obviously, I haven't gotten to like play against a whole lot of those guys. Most of them are either in different classifications or just teams that we would never be playing, you know. But I mean, going on, they had their official visits for mines here like the second and third weeks of January,
Right.
and it was really cool, kind of getting to like put a face to the name because you hear about so many of those guys just because they're really high, like they're really great football players. You hear about them, and then you don't actually know anything about them. And getting to meet them all was like super super cool. Like all three of those Columbine guys that are committed there were there that weekend, and they were all super cool. I'm trying to think of Kale Weatherby from Eagle Crest. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Like Kale and I hung out most of the time we were there. He's a super cool guy. Just like getting to finally meet some like the guys that you know you're gonna spend the next 5 years of your life with. It was like really awesome experience. And I mean, football aside, they're all guys that like I'm really excited to spend that kind of time with, you know.
Hell yeah. Are you gonna shave your head in a funny way for the team picture?
Oh my gosh, someone was talking to me about this last night. Uh, um, I don't know about shaving the head. Maybe we'll throw in some color or I don't know. Maybe we'll do a little something funny. But no, the hair. If anything, it's gonna be growing out.
Hey, there you go. Or you could like grow out a mustache and then shave half of it and shave the other half right after the picture's taken.
Oh my gosh. A bunch of the guys last year I saw were doing like face tattoos uh, with like Blaster on them, the mascot. I was like, that's
Yeah.
freaking hilarious. But yeah.
Yeah, saw Sam Beers on there with a half shaved head.
No,
And
my
I was
gosh,
like,
I met Sam while I was there that weekend.
oh, how's he doing?
He's doing good. I mean, it's funny too because like I didn't necessarily play against a lot of the guys that are there that are redshirting now,
Yeah.
but they're guys that I followed for a long time, and there's even a few that like I remember being a freshman, sophomore when they were seniors and meeting them, so that was kind of cool. But yeah.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, but I was really admiring Sam Beers last year because I was like, Air Academy has never exactly been relevant when I
Yeah.
was growing up, and so seeing him take them to the playoffs and be actually competitive for the first time and since I was like 3, I was just like I was grateful for him for that. But
No, for sure.
I mean, looking back on it, last your junior year, Longmont goes out. Some people thought, okay, you're losing a quarterback that's going to the University of South California. A little bit tough to recover from that, but you come out swinging. You're able to have a good season, and you make the playoffs. What did you think of our season preview from before this season, your senior season, based on what happened last year?
I felt like you guys did a good job of recognizing how that transition can be difficult and how we could recover from that transition going into the following year. Not that we didn't my junior year. I actually feel like being able to make playoffs after such a big loss of seniors was pretty cool, honestly. But I feel like you guys did a really good job of recognizing that like they're only going to go up from here. And I mean, I don't remember exactly how it went, but I feel like what did you guys end up having? How did our record this year differ from what you guys had in there?
So I had I had a window of wins from 4 to 7.
Okay.
So I said loss against Broomfield, could go either way against Windsor or Denver South. a
Mm-hmm.
win against Far Northeast. Could go either way against Skyline. Didn't realize what they would be this year.
Yeah.
A win against Greeley West, Silver Creek, and Monarch. And losses against Erie and Loveland.
I mean, you guys pretty much hit it on the hit it on the head. That's really good. Um, I mean, I feel like you guys even had the Windsor and Denver South games, right? Like we turned both those into games.
Yeah,
Uh,
the one possession games each of them.
yeah, that's gosh, I would do anything to have that Windsor game back. Um, but no, I feel like you guys did it was a really good evaluation of what our season actually turned out to be. And I feel like you guys highlighted a bunch of guys worthy of highlighting. Joey had a huge year, and I know that he was a guy that you guys pinpointed on. Same with Colby, and a few of our defensive and offensive linemen. I know you guys highlighted, and I feel like everyone kind of stepped up in ways that you guys said that you guys thought they would. So yeah, I mean, good job.
Well, hey, I I spent a lot of time on this, I'll say.
I have this feeling that you spend what a lot of people would think is too much time on it, but we all really appreciate it. It's really freaking cool to see.
Well, I am glad that you appreciate it. My when so not the season previews, but it's kind of the sentiment my family has about it. Mom, if you're listening, I love you. I'm just telling the story. But okay, so you know the certificates that we sent out to
Yeah.
everybody? So I had the idea for that, like right after we'd finished our award season last year.
Okay.
And I brought it up to Simon and Cody, and they were like, "That's a good idea, but we'll have to see how that all plays out." And I talked to my mom about it, and she was like, "Please, for the love of God, do not do that. You barely have time as it is. That's just gonna add a bunch of stuff to your plate." And I was like, "No, but I want to do it." And she was like, "Please, don't." And then
And look
like
who
I
did
think
it.
like I did it. I mean, it looks like everybody was happy with it. That
Yeah,
was
no,
really the
I thought it
important
was
part.
really cool.
Yeah, for me at least, it was like, okay, this is something that like can ground a memory in
Mm-hmm.
15, 20 years. Like, or like with you and Ty, let's say that somewhere down the line, one of your kids finds that looking through, if you have like certificates hung on the wall for some reason, and they're like, "What's this about?" Like that's the memory that I was thinking
Yeah.
about.
And the fact that I think it's pretty cool that we both got recognized by you guys this year. Like for them to be able to see like, oh, that's the same year. What happened that year? That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, you were able to play with Aiden, you were able to play with Ty. That's not very many people get to experience that, and I mean,
Oh.
especially Ty just had a really good kicking year.
Mm-hmm.
I was honestly a little bit surprised to see another Gaddis on the roster, but I was very glad with how he showed out, especially in that
Mm-hmm.
Monarch game. He had what, like 6 touchbacks?
Yeah. He hit a good Monarch game.
Yeah. And what was I guess at so 3 guys from Longmont got like end of season awards. So it was you, Ty, and Joey.
Mm-hmm.
What was your reaction to, I mean, not just the I guess not just yours, but like the team wide awards.
I think it's really cool. I really think that like the individual awards are really cool. I like the fact that you guys are recognizing guys for like individual success is really cool. I think the MVP award in particular is really important to be recognized because I feel like so few guys in high school football play both ways at such a great capacity, you know? Like some guys will play like 50% on both sides, like 50% of reps on both sides of the ball, but it's pretty rare that you get guys playing 90% plus reps on both sides of the ball. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's done a good job of like accounting for guys like that. But I think that the all playmakers teams are probably like my favorite like thing that you guys do in particular because like I mean being able to go through those lists and be like, oh yeah, I played against that guy, like, oh, he's tough, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And kind of recognize guys that you've played against or have heard about all year, and then see that they've been recognized by the guys that have watched what feels like watched so many games throughout the year. Is really fun, really
Yeah.
enjoyable to kind of look at when all is said and done.
Good stuff. And I mean, I just realized this. Like all three of the receivers that we had on the 4A list were either your teammate in Joey or guys that you played against in Owen and Elijah.
Yeah.
And
dude, let me tell you what about Elijah. That dude is gonna be, oh my gosh, he's gonna be a freaking problem. Like as a senior, I think about. Gosh.
I think he already had like a 700-yard season as a freshman.
Yeah, and it's like got to be close to double-digit receiving touchdowns too, I think.
Oh yeah, I think I don't have that off the top of my head, but I think he had like 8.
Yeah, it's rare that you have a first-team all-conference wide receiver as a freshman.
Yeah, it's going to be insane. But yeah, I mean, looking back at like your awards, you certainly earned it, and Bryson Strandberg gave me a good picture to work with for that.
Oh my gosh.
For that graphic, what did you think of that graphic when it first came out?
Dude, so I don't know, like I'd seen you guys have put them together for a couple of the other classifications, and I mean, like I saw that and thought like, oh, maybe I fit the mold for that, and so it was definitely cool to see that you guys recognize me in that, recognize me like that, and in some ways it's just kind of like it's nice to put in so much of like so much honestly like as much like physical effort that goes into playing both ways. It's nice to see that like the mental part of it, like because honestly the mental toll of going both ways is equally as tough, if not tougher, than the physical side of it. And to see that, to have that be recognized is kind of like, man, maybe it was worth it. But it was definitely cool to see that was recognized. And then like when I looking at the Playmakers team and I look like scroll back and I see Joey's on there too, that's like makes it that much better, you know?
Hey, I get you there. And moving a little bit to a wider picture, like you mentioned, you played against a bunch of the top talent in the state, like from the all Playmaker list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sorry, I'm going through and counting how many of these guys you played against. 10, 11, 12, 13. You played against 13 of the, I believe, 22 guys who were on the all PMC list.
Oh my gosh.
And including the guys on your own team. So you and Joey. But what could you run us through like and I can, as we go, give you the week by week. But could you run us through like the preseason, like week 1 to the playoffs, the preparation for that game against Pueblo West, and kind of just give us like a good, like the good, the bad, couple of funny stories if you have them. Yeah, like that kind of run through.
Yeah, no, for sure. So you said starting in preseason?
Preseason or week 1, whichever works best for you.
Okay, all right, yeah, let's go week 1 then. So obviously, kind of a very tall task. Week 1, Broomfield is just a tough team. We put in equally as much prep as we would to any other team, which is a lot going into that week, and ultimately just did not go the way we wanted it to. The driving force of that was probably their offensive line.
Yeah.
So Broomfield was not the start to the season that we necessarily wanted. But I feel like we had a good bounce back week against Windsor. Was Windsor week 2?
Yes.
I feel like we had a really good bounce back week against Windsor. Obviously, like I said earlier, that's one that I'm sure we'd all like to get back because, I mean, that's a game that we should have won, and I think it should have been a 2-score game. Like, the whole first half, I was like, it felt like they couldn't do anything offensively, and we were breaking open big plays. We had a big stop at the end of the first half, and the clock ran out on them on the goal line. It descended into the half. Yeah, that was huge. And then the second half, they just came out swinging. They started running the ball really, really effectively. I don't remember all too well what changes they made, but it felt like they were running the same play every single time we lined up, and we just couldn't stop it. And then, so again, that's when we like to get back. But then the next week was Denver South. The Denver South game last year was another high-scoring affair, it felt like. But that one never really felt attainable. And this year, I think the fact that we were able to bring it within striking distance was something that we were all really excited about. And obviously, you intend on winning every game that you play in, because otherwise, what's the point in even showing up? Yeah. But that's one that, again, I feel like similar to the Windsor game, we were all like, okay, we found some pieces. Now we can start throwing them together. And then I feel like that was really showcased in our game against Far Northeast, because Far Northeast, for being I don't know how many games they won on the year. Did they win 2?
Let me double check this.
I think they were 2-8.
Yeah, 2-8.
For being a 2-win team, they were probably the best 2-win team that you're going to come across, at least in 4A.
Yeah.
And super physical team. They definitely had us beat size-wise. I don't think they had an offensive lineman that weighed less than 260 pounds, 280 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
Some big dudes. And I think that game really was kind of a turning point for us, because we just gone through Windsor and Denver South, where we were like, dang, we're playing these really good teams tight, and we're kind of discovering capabilities of guys on our team, that guys on our team are doing things that maybe they didn't showcase the year before, but they've got another year of experience under their belt, and we can start trusting them a little more. And then, I mean, that all really comes to fruition against Skyline, when I think we end up winning by close to 40 or around 40.
42, yeah.
I don't have a whole lot. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about that game. Skyline's quarterback was hurt that game. But I still feel like, I mean, defensively, to hold anyone to 6 points, especially, let alone a rival team in a big game like that, to hold them to 6 points was really impactful for our defense. Then we go into West, where we hold the team to 13 points, which is, again, a really impressive feat to hold a team to 13 points on a game. Shout out to Greeley West's running back. I don't remember his name. He's running back and middle linebacker for them, or defensive end for them.
Yeah, David Lopez.
I know there's David, but then there's another guy too.
Oh, another fella?
Yeah, number 0.
You got me curious now. I'm a Google.
I need to. I'm in.
Oh no, that is David Lopez.
Oh, it is David.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
Yeah. He changed his number.
0 the year before, so that might be on me.
Yeah.
But he. Oh yeah. But I mean, he was tough. Oh my gosh. And he, for being as big as he was way faster than you'd expect him to. So shout out to that dude. But West was another big one for us, and it was really I guess it's the middle of this kind of winning streak we went on that really led to playoffs for us. The next week we play Creek, another hold them to 6 points again. At that point, I feel like we started to gain a lot of faith in our defense and our abilities on the defensive end of the ball, because that's always really, since I was a sophomore, been something that we struggled with, was holding teams to lower scores,
Right.
And then next week at Monarch, put us up to 5 wins in a row. And playing Monarch alone, playing Monarch at their own place, for whatever reason, is always a tough game, it feels like.
Yeah.
And we put 48 up on a good team, and I felt like their defense was really solid, and I feel like that week was kind of a big push for our offense, kind of figure out like that was a game where I feel like our air and ground attack were both like in full swing.
Yeah.
I know I ran for quite a few that game. Joey had like almost 200 receiving yards.
Yeah, you
so
had like 5 tutties.
Yeah, no, that was a good one. But that was big. And then we go into Erie. The Erie game was really unfortunate. I don't know. Erie's so tough, and playing Erie at Erie is probably the hardest environment to play in. I actually only got to play them there one time, because my sophomore year we had a bunch of guys out with COVID and a bunch of guys out with injury.
Yeah.
And so I was out that game. But playing Erie at Erie was an experience that I will never forget. I remember talking to you about this, or you checking in. And the first drive of the Erie game, I suffered a lacerated kidney.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And then I didn't realize until I was home that night what had happened, so I just played with it, and I probably did not help it. But that was unfortunate, obviously. And then we go into Loveland the next week, and we were down. I was done for the year, and we were down. I can't remember. At least 1 or 2 other guys were out with head injuries against Loveland. And the whole Loveland game felt like a blur, to be honest. The weather was awful, and we got out to a really slow start and kind of dug ourselves a hole early. And then the one I'm most upset about is probably that Pueblo West game. I was out. Grant Cummins, who's a two-way lineman, starter for us, probably a top 3 or 4, probably a top 3 defensive player for us the last 2 years. And Logan Johnson, who is another all-conference safety and a backup wideout for us, was also out that game with a head injury.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate, because I felt like Pueblo West was, matchup-wise, a really good draw for us, and one that if we were at full strength, I think we win probably.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that was that was only a 13-point game.
Yeah, they scored on every possession but one, and which only makes you miss 3 defensive starters that much more.
Yeah.
So that was tough. But the good news from the Pueblo West game is that some young guys were thrown in the mix and really thrived. We have a freshman linebacker running back for varsity. He was a defensive guy. His name's Jaden Ramirez. And that was his first time playing any more than maybe 10 snaps in the game. And he ended the game with like 8 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, a hurry or 2. Like really, really had a lot of success in a big playoff game, and never having played in a high school game at full before.
Holy crap.
Yeah, no, he had a really good game. And so I think there's definitely good things to be taken away from that game too. And Joey had a great game. Colby had a great game. Colby played linebacker for some of the game, and he's our quarterback. Like, that's unheard of.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It showed a lot of promise for next year and the year after that, it feels like. But I definitely wish I would have gotten it friendly.
Yeah. And especially considering that Pueblo West only lost by 1 score against Montrose that next round.
I know.
Like, oh, and then Montrose ended up facing Windsor, and that was a whole. Yeah, I can see that being. I just felt
You can
really.
see what it could have been. It feels like.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
that. I mean, potentially, depending on how the cards fell, could have been a Final Four type run.
Yeah.
But I mean, at a certain point, no use drawing on the past, right?
What was that?
At a certain point, there's no use drawing or dwelling on the past, I
Oh,
guess.
yeah. I mean,
But
as much as it sucks to like have to watch that game from the sidelines and think about like you're watching and you're thinking about what you would have done on a play versus what actually happened and all those sorts of things. I feel like I had a good understanding of like this is what it's going to be and you've got to be happy with it.
yeah,
You just got to appreciate the experience that you did get to have and not focus on the things that you missed out on.
yeah. And I mean, regardless, you guys still had a really, really good season. And
Mm-hmm.
I, what do you think separated this year's Longmont team from your competitors, but like both in your own class and around the state?
Um, I feel like there's a lot of things because obviously like most guys only experience one high school football team. But as far as the way we play goes, on the offensive side of the ball, I feel like very few teams have such a, like you were saying earlier, the fact that there's 4 power backs on the list kind of speaks to the fact that maybe more teams are leaning in that direction. And I feel like we found a really kind of unique balance between our ability to run the ball and more packed sets and then open it up and like throw it over the top. And I don't think a whole lot of teams really choose to play that kind of football. And I feel like it really worked out well for us. Uh, and then defensively, we, I mean, as a lot of teams in Colorado do, are shorthanded on big guys. And so we rely a lot on speed, but more so than that, athleticism. And I think our defense's ability to fly around and be like showcase their like individual athleticism is kind of what helped us to find success in that sort of run of wins that we had.
Hell yeah. And I mean, you talked about it a little bit there, like developing that speed and athleticism to make up for size that you don't exactly have in droves. But what are some positives from this last season that you hope some of the younger guys like your brother, like Jaden, like Ethan and Colby, what are some positives that you hope they take with them going into next year?
Um, and how to handle adversity is probably the biggest one. Uh, More so than any of the other years I spent in high school, we faced a lot of injury and injury at unfortunate times. And the fact that young guys in particular were able to step up and overcome those sorts of difficulties really speaks to the kind of people that they are, honestly. And so I hope that that's something that they don't overlook, that they're not like, oh, it really sucks that we didn't have those guys in this game or that game, and that instead they look at it as like a we can win, like we can play with teams when we're shorthanded. And I don't have any doubt in my mind that like the group of guys you just mentioned a second ago are going to take that on. And I know I have complete faith that Colby is going to like lead the charge with that. And yeah, that's probably like facing adversity is probably the biggest thing that I hope they carry with them.
Hell yeah. And I mean, that's really just an important life skill overall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let me tell you, there are some guys where, yeah, no, I'm definitely not going to name names, but you see them playing and you're like, okay, I can tell that you've only ever played on like Not that Longmont's a bad team, but I can tell that this guy's only played on teams that have made the Final Four every year.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay, calm down. It was a 3 and out. It happens. Like,
yeah.
But obviously we've talked a lot about some of these younger guys, but who are some other guys on the team that you would like to put a spotlight on, of like, this is somebody that the Box State should be looking out for these next few years?
I mean, obviously my top two guys are Colby and Joey. To be able to have the kind of chemistry that they have, even as a sophomore and freshman the year before this last year, is pretty incredible and not something that you really ever see. So those two guys, we've had a lot of guys dealing with some kind of long-term injuries, and so assuming all those guys continue to play football, Logan Johnson is one of the best athletes I've ever played any sport with, and he'll most likely be a two-way guy next year is my guess. Ethan is somehow still growing a lot, it feels like.
Wait, really?
Yeah. That's how it feels to me. Either that or I'm shrinking already. No, but and Ethan's only become more athletic. It's really cool to watch a guy of his size go out on a basketball court and have success. And he's actually been able to do that this year. And so I hope that, like, I know it's tough to lift and whatnot through basketball season, but he and I actually have a really good plan for this off season to try and get him big. And I mean, he's really dedicated to his craft, and so I'm excited to watch Ethan thrive the next couple of years. Obviously Ty, this is really his first time ever playing football, and he is another guy that's just a really good athlete and doesn't have a whole lot of football experience. Yeah. And so, I mean, I know that he'll get in the gym with those guys, get bigger, work on his speed, all the things that really kind of start your path to becoming a great football player, you know. That's probably my list of the younger guys. Jaden again, Juan Luis is another freshman that we have that had a lot of success. A couple of guys like that. Yeah.
All right. And you said that it's Ty's first year ever playing football?
Yeah, I mean, if flag football on like second grade counts or something.
As much as I'd like to say. As much as I'd like to say that does count. Goodness, that's really surprising. So I'm guessing that he was caught a little bit extra off guard then when he got the newcomer of the year nomination. Oh my.
I mean, definitely a little bit.
But I mean, he's got a lot of good film in the family to watch, not just from you, but from Aiden as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, one major thing that, like, you brought up a lot is the bond that you guys have on this team. The ways that everybody's been playing together since they were knee high, it sounds like. Yeah. And so what's something about Longmont as a school that makes it unique? Like something athletically, and then what makes it unique as a community?
Well, athletically, I think it's probably the fact that the high school coaches are so much more involved in the youth programs than I've really ever seen anywhere. I've been around Coach Johnson, football head coach, obviously, and Coach Kloster, the basketball head coach, since I was probably 5 years old, probably younger, honestly. And just like, I mean, they're all really involved in the community, so I've been around them because of that. and also because of like both my parents are Longmont High School grads, and so they've already built relationships with them. My dad played for Coach Gloucester, and Coach Johnson, I think. So like little things like that make the sports part of it so unique. And then as far as the community goes, it probably just ties back to the fact that we've all grown up together. It's one of those areas where the kids I go to school with now are the kids I went to school with when I was 8 years old, you know?
Yeah.
And so I've been around the same group of people for a long, long time. The Longmont High School staff is far greater than any other staff of like school leaders that I've been around. Everyone's so much more personal. Like the teachers at Longmont are more personable than any other place that I've been or any other place that I've heard about. I honestly don't have anything negative to say about any of the teachers or people that I spend time with at Longmont. And in fact, I'd say that some of my best friends or greatest mentors are teachers at Longmont High School. And I don't think that many people in the world can say that about their high school teachers.
I don't think very many people can. I remember that feeling well. And talking to guys from other schools around where I'm from, and all of them would be talking about like they hate half of their teachers, or like
I've
they
never
don't
understood that.
No, like I think the staff in the school is so important, and I was like, for me it was like, yeah, there were teachers that I didn't necessarily like their teaching style, but they were all good people. Or maybe it's just not the right like there was I hated algebra 2 because I just couldn't get the material, but then I had the same teacher for AP stats, and it was a great class. Like he did a great job with that. So sometimes it's just not the right class, and I just don't get people that hate that.
I agree. I 100% agree.
And I'll say this, I'm not just saying this to blow smoke. It's a pretty open thing that you're one of the better, when it comes to the student side of student athlete, you're one of the better ones in the state. Like pretty obviously that was a lot of what came out in that article about the Gold Helmet Award. What was your reaction to being a finalist for the Gold Helmet?
I mean, as much as I love the sport of football, being recognized as part of a group of guys that is so involved in school and in their community and takes academics seriously the way that I do probably means more, actually means way more than any football award or accomplishment that I'll ever achieve ever. Just because as great as the sport is, the people that you're around when you play the sport and the people that you meet through the sport is so much more important than the sport itself.
Ain't that the truth?
And just on that topic, it was pretty cool. The winner of the gold helmet, Josh Snyder, is also going to Mines next year, and I got to meet him when we were both on our official visits, and that was like it was an awesome experience just to kind of like meet dudes again, not just Josh, but meet dudes while I'm there that are like all doing those things,
But that are all doing things the right way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's that's always good, and knowing that, I mean, I was talking with Coach Dietrich at that Monarch game, and he was like, yeah, there are guys where you look at them and you look at their resume and their accolades, and you're just like, yeah, that's a Mines guy. That's the guy that goes out, puts in the work, gets it done the right way. The type of guy that submits essays 3 days early.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I mean, it's interesting because when you're looking at that level of prep that it takes to be on that level as a student and be able to be this successful as a player as well, it it really makes you think about like how difficult the playoffs are compared to the regular season. When you're thinking about the game purely, because you have to put in that much more effort. At this point, everyone knows who you are, knows, okay, this is Colby Holmes. This is the guy that'll run back 3 punt returns for touchdowns in a season. This is
Mm-hmm.
this is not just Noah Atherton's brother. This is Ethan Atherton, and this is somebody that we really have to look out for. And so everybody's doing that much more homework, that much more preparation. Uh, how would you describe that difference in playoff football from the regular season, and like how not like at Longmont, but like how preparation for that around the state could be different?
I mean, obviously everyone puts in a lot of prep as far as watching film and whatnot goes into the regular season games, but that just the magnitude with which you watch those things just increases dramatically during the playoffs, just because errors in the playoffs mean so much more than errors in the regular season, it feels like. And so the amount of film that you spend watching, the amount of time you spend practicing, I feel like not that guys aren't locked in during practice already, but when you hit the playoffs, there's just like everyone kind of enters second gear, you know? And so there's kind of some instinctual things that happen too with playoff football that really can contribute to the seriousness of it all.
Hey, I get you there. It's a whole nother level.
Mm-hmm.
My junior year, our football team went to state, and just the increasing intensity week after week was absolutely insane, because the last week of the regular season we play manual. Week 1 of the playoffs we play them again, so 2 weeks in a row the same opponent. Our quarterback tears his ACL, keeps playing. The next round, we're playing, because it was a COVID season, it was only an 8-team playoff.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same team 2 weeks in a row. Then we play the 2 seed. We're playing Buena Vista at Buena Vista. Absolutely insane. But we go against those guys every year, so the intensity was even higher. Then state, and it would, just it's an exponential scale. But
yeah,
and I mean, it's even harder for guys like you, because a lot of the time on the 4A and 5A level, it's really frowned upon to see guys playing both ways. Like teams are experimenting with it more, but it's still kind of a taboo thing to do for most of the top squads, and yet we see some of the best players in the state doing it. So what are your thoughts about guys in the higher classifications playing both ways?
I mean, I don't have a super strong stance per se on it. As someone who's played both ways, I understand the like physical and mental toll that it can take on you. But I feel like as long as it's either a guy playing positions that maybe don't require a whole lot of as much physicality as other positions, uh, like then you're definitely all right. But when you get guys like, I mean, most of the guys that were mentioned on that were mentioned for the MVP award were like running back, linebackers, and stuff like that. When you're playing positions that endure that kind of contact, you really just need to focus on preparation for your body. And I feel like as long as you're putting guys that have done that preparation into a place where they're playing both ways, then you're all right. But I don't have, as long as like the positions that those guys are playing are like chosen wisely, and or they put the time into getting their body right to play the positions, then I think they're all right.
Hey, fair enough. As long as it works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, we've heard of varying responses to that in the past, but it's kind of similar to what you said, where a lot of it is, if you have the right personnel, then that's what you should do. But be ready for the consequences of that.
Yeah.
And I mean, playing both ways, you were able to shine on all over the field with that. You have experience, obviously, with special teams, with defense, with offense. And did that give you any advantage in recruiting? What was your recruiting experience like? I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but what was your... Yeah, just give us a lowdown on your recruiting story.
Yeah. So I feel like I was kind of lucky with the way my recruiting process played out. I feel like I've heard a lot of stories about people being screwed over or this or that. But I've kind of had an understanding that I wanted to go to Mines, whether I was playing football or not, for a while now.
Right.
And I would say it was during my sophomore year that I realized that playing football would also be a possibility while I was there. And so it's funny. I feel like when you're younger, most guys are trying to get into contact with the Power Five, or I guess Power Four schools. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I actually went back a few days ago, and the first message I ever sent to a Mines coach was in August of going into my sophomore year.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I kind of known I wanted to go there, and like that's the only camp I went to the summer going into my junior year, or summer going into my senior year.
Dang.
I went to camp. I talked to coaches, and they were pretty much like, "We're gonna offer you here in the next few weeks. We'll stay in touch." I got offered the last day of July, and I committed on like a week and a half later. And so I had a really kind of fluid and easy recruiting process, just because I knew what I wanted. And I feel like knowing what you want is like the hardest part to figure cycle.
Ain't that the truth? Yeah. I'll be honest. Some of the guys at the podcast, we saw that you committed, and we were like, I mean, good for him. Mines is a very good program, but we were caught off guard because most of the commitments were very far down the line,
Mm-hmm.
and we were just like, hey, that is a darn good spot.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, it's the perfect fit for me, and I realized that since the first time I visited in February of my junior year. Like my family and I took a trip down there, and just like I was like, this just feels like home, you know?
hell yeah. And I mean, I've been to Golden a few times, mostly for speech tournaments, I'll admit, but it's a really, really pretty town, isn't it?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it's a mountain town, so it's like, I mean, like my parents always say, it kind of reminds them of Estes in some ways. And so, I mean, I love it there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, being able to play in the RMAC, what would you say that, like, being able to play in what's basically the D2 SEC had any impact on that decision?
Oh, I mean, for sure. More so than the conference itself, probably, is the fact that Mines has just been, they've only gotten better the last 5-6 years, it feels like. And to play for a team that has had the success that they've had the last 2 years and still seems to be getting better is just like an opportunity in itself that I couldn't pass up. And then to be able to play competition like Western and CSU Pueblo and some of those schools in the RMAC, I'm really excited about. And that's again another opportunity that it presented itself, and I wanted to capitalize on.
Oh yeah. And I mean, it feels like smaller school ball has gotten a lot more exposure these past couple of years. Like a lot more people know about Mines, about like Grambling State, about Black Hills State, the all the different or even D3 programs like Bates. Like a lot more people know about that due to social media and the ability for different aspects of the game to be more well known. So how has media and social media impacted your perspective on the sport and your recruiting journey?
I mean, when I think of social media and my recruiting, I immediately think of like CBS Sports reposting Mines' football pictures, But it's crazy how when you get a lot of guys from the same area going to a school, it like kind of starts almost a pipeline from like kids in that state to go to that school, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like the number of kids that I've seen commit from Colorado to like you were saying, Mesa, and like Hastings College and some schools, some of the like Division III schools like that. Like the more you see kids from your area committing to schools like that, the more you kind of are forced to think like, oh, what about that school? So that's definitely, and now that like you have Twitter and Instagram and guys are posting their commitment to all those schools, it's everywhere. And like you and your buddies kind of share like, oh, did you see this guy's going there? And then you kind of find yourself like thinking, oh, maybe that's a good fit for me.
Hell yeah. And let me tell you, some of these schools I'd never heard about until, and then all of a sudden, boom, like Shadron State, like my senior year, knew nothing about it until my friend Ethan committed to play there, and I was just like, whoa, this is a whole thing. Or like D3 wise, Nebraska Wesleyan, they get a bunch of Colorado talent on the low. What commitment, like, are there any guys that committed where you were just like kind of taken off guard, like kind of like a good for you? I had no clue that was in the cards.
I mean, not really. There's definitely some guys that like I just didn't know were looking for opportunities that commit, and no one really that I'm like, like they're really going there. I feel like I've seen a lot of guys kind of go the other way, where it's like that's like where I feel like maybe they could go to a better school than that. But I don't know, like I'm trying to think. Like I think it's like Cole Rogers. Like he's a smaller back for sure, but Cole is like the definition of an RMAC talent in my eyes. Like I'm kind of surprised that he doesn't have more RMAC opportunities than he has. Like I think he picked up Black Hills, which like congrats to him. But I know he's got a lot of interest in Western, and I've kind of been surprised that hasn't been something that's played out yet.
Yeah, it's really interesting seeing the offers that have materialized for different guys around the state. So like I think Cole got offered by McPherson, and and they're a program that's really been going hard after a bunch of Colorado guys. And like they really came out of the woodworks. I had no idea who they were before 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And I do really hope that Cole finds a good spot that works for him.
Me too.
And oh god, okay, but I'm not sure how people feel about the way that I ask this next question.
Okay.
But let's say on your way, you're moving into Mines, and all of a sudden you find a shiny lamp, and you rub it, and all of a sudden out comes a genie, and it says, "I am the NIL deal genie. If you want a brand deal or an NIL deal, I will be able to materialize it no matter how insane of a request it is." What NIL deal
Oh my
would
gosh.
you wish for?
Dude, I got, oh my gosh. Just because I said it for my pregame meal, I'd have to say Chick-fil-A. Just because it's my pregame thing. But
Hey,
oh
there you
my
go.
gosh.
Get the Gaddis nuggets.
That'd be awesome.
Or like with the Travis Scott meal at McDonald's.
Oh my gosh. No.
Oh goodness. When is moving for Mines anyway?
I need to double check that actually.
Fair enough. Yeah,
I don't know for sure.
Oh goodness. Yeah, when I committed, not like committed, but when I like decided that I was going to CSU, it was already April, and so you're much further ahead than I am. And so obviously you're still at Longmont, but your football career, high school wise, is over. So what are your goals for college ball?
I mean, at this point, I don't feel like I have a great perspective of what college ball is going to be like. I mean, I feel like I understand that it's like extremely high demand, and that at a school like mine's, the academic portion of it is equally high, if not a higher demand. But I mean, I don't know. I just put myself in the best position I can to get time on the field as soon as I can. It would probably be my biggest goal right now. I mean, I just want to get up there and show what I'm capable of, honestly. And then from there, I'll kind of just see how it plays out, you know?
I get you. Yeah. And I mean, mine's you'll. I just say this because most guys who go to mines probably, or no, not probably, most guys who go to mines do take a redshirt year to figure out that balance between academics and the team. How do you feel for like figuring, because that's going to be a complicated balance to find. How do you feel for that?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like obviously all the guys that choose to go there have a really like profound academic background. But I feel like I pushed myself academically in high school in a way that will at least give me some sort of assistance through that process. Like, and the coaches also do a great job of scheduling for the sake of classes and giving you opportunities to get ahead on your schoolwork, that sort of a thing. So I think, and the tough thing is that football's in the fall, so it's like I get there and then it just all hits you at once, you know. But I think uh, just the fact that you have a bunch of other guys that are redshirted around you going through the exact same thing will be probably my biggest help in that regard.
I got you. Yeah, you'll have a full squad of guys going through that experience with you. And I mean, you've talked a lot today about the different people that have had an effect on you and your play style and your career. Would you consider coaching?
What was that?
Would you consider coaching?
I mean, I don't know what level, but yeah, for sure. And honestly, the reason I would probably coach is because, uh, like I was saying earlier with the sort of community part of Longmont, is that some of my greatest, like some of the people I look up to the most are coaches that I've had, like one of my, if not my all-time favorite coach, Coach Dirksen, the linebackers coach at Longmont, also happens to be like one of my greatest mentors in my life, And so more so than for the football part would probably be to like have that sort of an impact on kids going through like that stage of their life,
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, it's interesting hearing the different, because almost everybody that we talked to has said yes, but hearing the different ways that guys answer that question and about the different levels that they would want to coach, it's really interesting to hear those differences as well, and
yeah,
the effect that their coaches have had on them. And I guess on the same lane. So right after you asked the NIL genie for the Chick-fil-A deal, they also say that they can transport you back in time to the first day that you stepped on foot or stepped on campus at Longmont High School. What advice would you give to the freshman version of yourself? Like on the field, recruiting, relationships, academics, any of that?
Probably just to go all in on everything you decide to do. When you decide you're going to play a sport or take a class, don't half-ass it. Like, give it your all.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Trust me, I've seen a lot of people that could use that. And I mean, goodness. And we're actually nearing the getting towards the end here. And so now that we're close to the end, is there anybody in particular that you would like to mention who's been important to your academic, athletic career, your personal journey that you would like to thank on the show? This could include friends, family, coaches, players, significant others, any of that.
Oh my gosh, there's a lot of people. Obviously family, my immediate and extended family. I have like the greatest support system as far as like my mom and dad and my three brothers are like some of the people that I look up to the most and have supported me more than anyone through the entirety of my high school career. On top of that, grandparents, aunts, and uncles that have made it to games and really gone out of their way to like show their support for me. As far as friends go, the extended committee families, the Hergen Raiders, the families of some of my teammates like the Prosperos and Dirksons, Holmeses, Athertons. Those are probably some of the people I'd like to thank most. And I'd also just like to thank anyone and everyone else that's helped me along my journey throughout football and school and just time I spent in the community. Anyone that's played a role in that, I'd also like to thank. Oh, I actually also have three other people, that I'd like to thank. As far as school goes, Miss G, Wade, and Coach Cade have been three of the greatest people to me throughout my time in high school and even before then when my older brother was in high school. So thank you to all of you guys.
Very good. Very good. You see, this is why I make sure guys do that. And you mentioned that there are three other Gaddises. I only knew about two.
Yes, I have a brother in 6th grade.
Oh my! So, he'll be able to play with Ty then.
Yeah, we're all spaced so that we all get a year of high school together.
What's your youngest brother's name?
Griffin.
Okay, so you've got Aiden, Cole, Ty, Griffin.
Yes.
And thank you very, very much, Cole, for coming on today. It is greatly appreciated that we were able to bring you on, be able to talk about the different steps in your career from middle school to high school, you've played against a lot of the top talent that this state has ever seen, and what that next step in your journey looks like, and what hopefully you'll be able to do over at Mines. I know that all of us here at the podcast will be rooting for you, and everybody listening is as well. And to everybody who is listening, whether or not you're a returner or this is the first time you're tuning in, thank you very, very much for popping in and listening to what we have to say. So if you are interested in learning more about Colorado high school football and NAIA women's flag football, you can follow us on Twitter at Playmaker Corner, or you can follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Playmakers Corner. You can also find us in terms of podcasts anywhere that you listen to podcasts, Google, Apple, Spotify. You can also find us on YouTube at Playmakers Corner. I hope that you all have an amazing day. Stay safe, stay hydrated, make sure that you look both ways before you cross the street, and I will catch you all on the flip watching Colorado ball. Peace.